welcome everyone. If you haven't met me before, my name's Katie. I'm the Music Business Manager at the Victorian Music Development Office, which is otherwise known as the VMDO. So the VMDO exists to support the Victorian music industry and the businesses within it. So that support comes in the form of professional development and training, connecting Victorians with new contacts here and overseas, accessing resources and undertaking research. So a few of you may have come to our in-person networking events, which we were holding at White Sky. We started those in December 2018, and we were lucky enough to have 12 fantastic events there at White Sky. So I want to thank them for hosting us. We've now pivoted, the magical word that everyone's using out of this time. We've now converted our networking breakfast to online, to virtual. So what that means is we're doing them fortnightly now. So every second Wednesday, keep an eye out for them. We're going to be coming to you every second Wednesday with a new topic that's relevant to the industry. We're really excited to bring this chat to you today. And I'm going to hand over now to Neil Morris, who is the First Peoples Music Business Manager at the VMDO.
Yalni Yawa, everybody. Good morning. Hope you're doing good out there. Nangana Mulana, Ulambara, Nangana Mulana, Ayoti Otawaka, Nangana Mulana, Waka, Yakapna, Niranoma. I pay respect to where I am, which is the land of the Yoda Yoda people. It is the land of where I descend. Very gratefully. I'm very blessed to be here this morning to share with you a bit of smoke. Walambara, the fire where we all connect together, and I send some of this smoke your way and wish that you have a beautiful day and that you get a lot of value out of this session today. It's obviously a very tricky time for many of us and very difficult to navigate contemporary world at the best of times, let alone with what everybody's going through at the moment. So I do really send what it is that is powerful and what is healing and what is strong and what is sacred from this fire over to you all, and may you all be blessed in some way from that. And again, I hope that you have a beautiful day or a Galnia day, wherever it is that you might be listening and watching in from across this beautiful planet that we all inhabit here very gratefully. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Neil. So we'll go to the panel now and throw to today's topic, which is Twitch, the streaming platform, which has seen a huge boom in viewership over the past few months. And increasingly, we're seeing musicians turn to Zoom for live streaming. So we're going to learn a whole lot more about the platform today, and we've got three amazing experts here to tell you all about it. So I'm going to hand over the conversation now to Michelle Mannering, also known as Mish Manners, Hackathon Queen, who will be moderating. And on the panel we have Lewis Mitchell, who is the partnerships lead for Twitch Australia and New Zealand. And we also have Achilles Papantos, who is the talent agent and business manager at AZYT Global Talent. So I'll hand it over to Mish now.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Katie, good morning. Welcome, everyone. So lovely to have you all here. So happy to be here. And we're super excited to bring you so much exciting content from the world of Twitch, the world of online streaming entertainment, and it's just going to be such a great conversation. Looking forward to hearing all the questions that come from you all as well, and hopefully we can answer all those for you. So as Katie mentioned, Michelle, or Mish, known as the Hackathon Queen, I get to do a whole lot of exciting things with business and esports and gaming and tech. So it's just, I love this space. It's something that I get to do, work a lot in, and it's such an exciting time to be a streamer and also within the technology business. So as Katie mentioned, I have two wonderful people on the panel with me today, Lewis and Hillis. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
You go first, mate.
Okay.
It was only
cool.
going to happen.
Hello, everyone. So Ahilius here, but also confusingly, to many of you probably know me as Louis, ex-music industry. So I started off with 039, who I ran with Will Evans, who's now Bandcamp, and we worked with artists such as Japanese Wallpaper, most notably. In the last few years, I've been partnered with Mark Richardson. So many of you know him, managing Kimbra, Bertie Blackman, and an extensive career in the UK. So we got into business together via esports, and this year I made the kind of decision in January to really focus in esports and gaming, and that kind of representation in the digital landscape. So I'm currently still in Melbourne, but I will be moving to LA once everything settles down with COVID-19. But I'm obviously like a very passionate music person. That's why I got into it originally, and I'm passionate about gaming and tech, and done a lot between the two genres, so to speak. So yeah, excited to talk Twitch and the correlation between these two industries.
And Lewis?
Cool. So Lewis Mitchell, nice to meet you all. I am the partnerships lead for Twitch in Australia and New Zealand. And the absolute shortest way to explain my job is kind of content retention, content development, and content acquisition. So it's finding ways to help people to come onto the platform and then developing the right content for them when they get there, because it is slightly different to kind of other platforms that are out there.
Sounds great, and that is exactly what so many people here are here for today, to understand what Twitch is, how they can use it, and what they can do. Now, I know Katie did a questionnaire before this of the type of people that we have in the group. So if we have those numbers, that would be amazing. But to start us off with, Lewis, this is a perfect question for you to answer. Some people in the chat might not know exactly what Twitch is, or may have heard of it, but not too sure. Would you like to explain Twitch to all of us?
So our tagline is the world's biggest video platform for gaming enthusiasts. And it kind of actually stems from Twitch used to be a gaming only platform. So a lot of people may have heard of it before and may go down the path of like, oh yeah, isn't that gaming thing? Essentially, it's live streaming. We've been doing it for years. We've actually been doing it for I think close to 15 years now, but it used to be called Justin TV. And it used to be, quite candidly, one of the most illegal platforms in the world, where people were just live streaming anything they wanted. So what we realized is that gamers were using the platform to begin with. And like a lot of new technology, and something that I'll cite a lot is like smartphones only became necessary because of things like Angry Birds and Candy Crush. And people wanted to play those and then realized, oh yeah, you know, this is great. So smartphone technology developed. VR is another technology that's kind of on the way up because of gaming. And in the same way, gamers really brought to life the live streaming side of things. Build a culture, build a community, and we pivoted and went, okay, if gamers want to use this and we don't have the license to all this other content, let's pivot and go directly only to gaming. So we built up with a very gaming focused culture and a very gaming focused audience. But over the years, as we build up the audience, we realized that, hey, you know, people actually like other things. Just because they like video games doesn't mean they don't like music and art and sport and literally sitting there and talking to people, which is, funnily enough, one of our biggest growing categories is called Just Chatting. So this would have been 4 years ago now. We actually pivoted and realized, okay, well, it's not for gamers only. It's for people that are gaming enthusiasts, hence the tagline. But there's all of these other verticals that people are starting to get into, and music is a huge, huge part of that. So we have musicians on, we have producers on, we have, you know, people that just want to hang out and talk music at times. And that is a massively growing category as well, which is, I'm assuming, why I've been asked to kind of come into this chat and talk to you guys.
We're going to be talking a lot about music, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the correlation between music and gaming as well. Before we jump into that, tell us a bit, like, you get to work with so many different talent people, and you're part of like talent acquisition. What are the types of people and talent that is usually attracted to Twitch? I mean, Lewis just said that it's not all about gamers. So what kind of talent is attracted to this kind of platform?
Obviously, seeing the progression of Justin TV to Twitch, and predominantly being a gaming platform, and now introducing new categories for streamers of a different variety. Like Lewis said, I mean, there's like chefs jumping onto Twitch and making that their stage, so to speak. And especially during COVID-19, we've had some amazing musicians join the platform. Like, watching Kenny Beats like produce beats live has been amazing, right? Like, that sort of transparency. Social media never really reached that level. There's always still been that filter. And I think in a similar way, Twitch and live streaming in general has almost followed the same process that the record business has in terms of the technology development. Like 10 years ago, even, right? Like live streaming was a pain in the ass, so to speak. Like you look at like Transmit TV, which existed in Melbourne for like DJs to live stream, and the person that runs that is still in the business, working with major festivals, live streaming onto platforms now. But he had to code his own software back then. But now there's so many products, and it's so accessible for people to just go, yeah, live streaming is part of my mix. And I'm going to look at content for the traditional, so to speak, social media platforms. But I'm certainly going to look at introducing a new way to connect to my fans. And any smart musician, obviously would look at Twitch and go, cool, this is a really great opportunity if I have that kind of personality, because that is a big one. And if I have the content output for it. And I think that's why we're seeing, because of the circumstances, but also because of the progression of live streaming and the technology, and also Twitch evolving as a platform, it's kind of aligned where now it's more universal to content creators.
I actually really just want to touch on, sorry, just a point where you mentioned before this, where that traditional social media, which is kind of a funny thing to say at this point in time, but people have kind of learned that you put your best of packages out there. So like VOD content is very much like the, quick snippets of the highlights. Like Twitter, even in the sports sense, it's like you don't have the full thing on Twitter. You have your highlight packages, or if you're putting out a new song, it's very much like, check out a snippet of my new song. Whereas Twitch is very much like, and the way that I think people kind of come at Twitch with a slightly distorted view, because it looks like it's taking on television. It's kind of, they feel as though it's I need to make television type content. Where it's actually, and it's kind of something that I'll always say, try and get in your head if you're thinking about content for live streaming, is that it's actually more of a radio, kind of new wave radio, because people are more there for the process rather than there for just the finished product. And they're there to kind of go on that journey with you. So my favorite stat on Twitch is that an average user watches for 106 minutes a day. That's the average user length of time. And it's because they're sitting there, they're engaging, they're asking questions, they're talking to you. And an average stream should go for no less than 3 hours. And for most people, that's a huge amount of time investment, and totally understand that. But the engagement you get by building that audience, and when you're sitting there, if you're making a track and you're happy to share that track and the building of that track with people, why not share it? And funnily enough, it's like they get to inform and change the content with you. They're going to feel personally responsible as well for part of that art and part of that creativity too. So it's just a different way of looking. It is still a social platform, but it's a completely different way of looking at it as a social platform when it's a long form platform.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we get into like how some of the musicians are using Twitch, I want to go back a little bit when you talked about, Lewis, about how Twitch originally started as like, a gaming enthusiast type thing. Now, to me, there seems to be this big correlation between gaming and music. Now, if we think about video games, what video game can exist without a decent soundtrack behind it, right? And we're
Mhm.
seeing a lot of things happening around this correlation between gaming and music. So I want to hear from both of you before we jump into specifically music. Like, how do you both see music and gaming together in a space? And we'll start with Achilles.
Sure. I think it's culture based. I think like you speak to any like 16-year-old that's into like rap music, and he's, you know, at a certain point, maybe a year ago or so, he'd probably be playing Fortnite. There is a real correlation in their activities. I mean, just over the weekend, we saw Travis Scott perform in game in Fortnite, and there was almost 13 million concurrent people within Fortnite watching Travis Scott play, which is
I watched it. It was pretty good.
Cool, man.
like insane. And the stats on Twitch as well, you know, like close to 1.5 million viewers. Lewis, please tell me if I'm wrong there, but
I think, yeah, I'd have to double check. I don't have that one off the top of my head, but yeah.
but it just like insane concurrent viewership watching a performance. And I think that the tech is evolving where, you know, like I think personally Fortnite is almost becoming this like digital playground. It's gone beyond just a video game. It's like a virtual social media network in a sense, right? Kids are just logging in and they're like, we're just going to hang out and chat. And Fortnite and Epic have latched onto that and gone, okay, well, we'll just host like in-game tournaments. And I think within, you know, different genres of games, you can actually identify different genres of music because there are different demographics and audiences. And I did a lot of campaigns in my previous agency, like, you know, worked with rappers like Trippie Redd or Fundamentals. And, you know, there was a real correlation between, you know, them as artists and their fans, and also what, you know, other activities and interests the musicians and fans had. So Fundamentals were super big into FIFA, and their audience was super big into FIFA. It was just a very easy one. So we got the best FIFA player in Australia to actually show them how to play FIFA properly. And it was just like a really transparent and engaging way to kind of link what is already there and just package it up and put it out. And, you know, Trippie Redd, when, you know, we worked with him, it was like at the peak of Fortnite, and Trippie Redd was a Fortnite player himself. So we essentially just had a bunch of streamers on Twitch play the Trippie Redd record, and, you know, shout out to Trippie Redd and, you know, wear some of his merch and stuff. So the way I think of it is that, you know, I think gaming has gone beyond like the whole stereotype of some 40-year-old sitting in their, you know, mum's basement with a liter of Coke, and it's become a cultural movement, right? And it's like, you know, it aligns with like, you know, street culture in terms of like, you know, fashion and music, right? Like in hip hop. And so I think in that cultural link, especially as the technology continues to evolve, like with Twitch, right? Like streaming it, but then also like within games, I think that culture is going to have more opportunity to really grow and to really connect. And we'll see more synergies that just, you know, do really cool things like the Fortnite thing, which is mind-blowing, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. We might just keep moving on just because I want to get to this music stuff. So I've got a question for Lewis. Now we're seeing, you know, Achilles just talked about the crossover between gaming and music, and we're now seeing a lot more music type stuff coming to Twitch. You know, we've recently seen, you know, Twitch Sings, which allows music or people, anyone really, to basically karaoke on their channels. We're now seeing, you know, Twitch building partnerships with like SoundCloud and places like that. So what are kind of some of the things happening in the Twitch music kind of space? Maybe that you could probably hint to things that are coming, or like how people are using some of these new partnerships that you've built.
Yeah, sure. I just had a quick look at the poll as well, and there's quite a few people that have never used the platform. So maybe
You're gonna get to that one.
Yeah, okay. But I'll take a kind of step back and kind of, because I think it will lead into the answer of what a Twitch page looks like. And essentially if you go to any channel on Twitch, not the front page, because I will be super candid, and anyone that's never been on Twitch that goes directly to the front page, it's a pretty confusing place, and we've got a fair bit of work to do to kind of sort that one out. But a channel itself has the player in which the streamer is broadcasting themselves on it, kind of the middle. On the right-hand side, there is a chat system, and that's where your interactivity comes from. If you go into certain channels, you'll see a lot of different badges, which can be quite confusing to begin with. Those are essentially reward systems for supporting your favorite streamer, your favorite broadcaster. Now, how that leads into the question that Misha asked is that there are revenue streams for anyone on Twitch, as long as they hit an affiliate status, which is the first level of, people can subscribe to you, which is a monetary subscription. You can earn ad revenue and people can donate money to you. And it's a very tipping kind of culture. So you like what somebody did, you give them $5. And then what will happen is that an alert will come onto the channel. It'll say, thank you so much for your $5, or okay, so which song do you want me to play for your $5, or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of, if you think about it in that way, it's very much digital busking. So instead of you having to go to Central Station and going into the tunnel and hoping that people don't have their headphones in, or that they'll give you that second to kind of go, oh wow, this person's talented, you've actually got this fully engaged group of people. So from that aspect, there's a lot of musicians that are using it really just to, instead of cutting all of their music and cutting all of their instruments, there you go, there's a perfect example. Cutting all of their instruments and all that heavy equipment into the tunnel, they're going, well, I'll just set this all up in my bedroom and I can go live whenever I want. Matt from Trivium is probably one of the biggest artists that is utilizing that, where he just kind of plays different guitars, gets a different sound, and really develops new music with his audience. On the other side of things, I've been working quite closely with a few producers, and I know a few more around the world have been coming on, where it's a collaboration effort to make a new song. So, you've got Ableton open, you're going through, you're going, should we put this filter on or this filter on? What sounds better? Where should we have that drop? And you've got that collaboration piece going on. In terms of what we're doing specifically, I think we're going to be investing more into Twitch Singers. I think that's a great program. And to explain that, it's literally just our own IP, but it's a karaoke program. So there's all these songs that you can sing karaoke. The best part about it is that you can sing half a duet. It gets left in the servers, and anybody can kind of come pick it up and sing the second half. So if you imagine from kind of pie in the sky kind of idea, you get Adele singing half a duet, then anyone can come along and sing with Adele, which is just that's unbelievable if we can get it to that level. With the SoundCloud side of things, it's we want to see more and more musicians kind of go, this is a viable platform for them to use and to speak to an audience, because it really is once you are in it, you will not get engagement like it, but it just is, it's that time that you need to put into those streams to begin with, which are, if I'm honest, a bit more time intensive than putting tweets out or putting a photo out on Instagram, but the actual engagement you'll get back and the fan base and the community you can build is second to none.
Okay, so you sort of answered the next question I was going to ask, which is how are some of these people using Twitch? And we'll probably get into a little bit more, but as you've seen in the poll, Lewis, that 48% of people have never even used Twitch here before. Yep. So Achilles and Lewis, both of you, what are your top tips for getting started on Twitch, and how would one go about actually, we talked about all the cool things you can do, and people are probably sitting here going, hey, this sounds cool, I can make money. How do you actually get started?
For me, for me, and especially from a kind of artist development point, and this has actually been feedback from Lewis, so I'm going to definitely take this because I know it's correct.
Go for it,
man. But it's definitely consistency, and I think that that one is paramount, in everything that we do, but especially on Twitch, especially my favorite streamers, I like to know a schedule. I like to know when I can routinely check in and be part of it, because the beautiful thing about Twitch is that it's not just a one-way relationship, right? You're not just tuning into static TV and going, great, this is the program and I can't interact. I love when I can tune into one of my favorite streamers and he realizes or she realizes that I'm actually online, and I get a message being like, hey, thanks for jumping in, and it's that real-time interaction. So I think, first of all, it's definitely consistency. And if you're going to commit to Twitch, then it's a case of you really need to do it. And as Lewis just said, it is more intensive, but I haven't personally ever had the relationship with essentially content creator, so to speak, that like that I might follow via Instagram or something, compared to how I have it on Twitch. I really do feel as part of their community, and that's something I think that's pretty exclusive to the platform. The other thing is just obviously having, you know, good content. Like, I mean, that's a very simple rule. And I think, yes, the rules do change on Twitch, right? Like, what does make a good broadcast? You know, if streams have to be a minimum of 3 hours, you really need to figure out how you're going to fill up that time. But essentially, you know, like any great artist will be able to sort that out themselves, and it's not for us to tell them, but it's yeah, it's essentially consistency in having good content, and then obviously just connecting with your fan base and really kind of supporting the support that they give you.
Sure. I think a few tips for me. Number one, watch a few streams. A lot of people just jump into the platform and just kind of go like, I don't actually know what I'm doing, and then leave very quickly because it feels quite confusing. But once you actually get to understand some of the concepts and some of the tools that exist, then you start understanding, okay, how can I apply it to my skill set? That kind of leads on to when you start thinking about what content you're going to be making, think about your skill set. Like at the end of the day, it's an entertainment platform. It's still part of the entertainment industry, and you have to have people gravitate towards you based on your skill set that you have. In exactly the same way, the music industry, like people gravitate towards you because you are an interesting musician or an artist that is different to other people. So people want to listen to you rather than somebody else. It is the same concept of, how do I build on the skill set that I have, and what do I showcase when I'm building that content plan? And it doesn't have to be like everything at once. It's very much like, I'm a good musician, I write good songs, therefore I will showcase that. How do I showcase that over 3 hours? Well, you can, you know, sit down, have a writing session for half an hour. You can then, you know, strum a few chords, see if that works with the lyrics that you put together. And then if you want to, and you know, you've started having that conversation with people start to get to know you, and then you can start building on the personality aspect. And instead of it just being about the music, you start building on, okay, I'm going to do a cooking stream today because I actually really enjoy cooking. Who wants to watch a cooking stream with me? And what you'll tend to find is people will start going, I actually really like this person, feel invested in your personality, and then kind of go on any journey that you want to go on. But ultimately, to begin with, you need that point of difference, that why should somebody watch you rather than another person? Because ultimately, you know, there's so many different choices out there these days of the Netflix, Stan, all of the VOD systems. You can watch YouTube. So if somebody's investing their time to watch you, it's most likely because they like you as a personality and want to watch your talents flourish and want to be part of that journey.
Definitely. So if we give people a bit of context, like for example, this is the music and performance category on Twitch. These are all the people who are currently live. There's literally so many, like there's 12,500 people watching, and there's 2.5 million followers for all these channels. So this is kind of what you're competing with, for want of a better word. And so as Lewis mentioned, like start looking through this and look at, you know, do you like their style, or do you like what they're doing, or what kind of elements do their viewers really like and engage with and interact with. And I think that's one of the things you really need to, you know, think about when you're starting. I've just dropped the link in the chat. Is think about when you're starting, like what do you want to build and who do you want to be on this kind of platform. So I think that kind of thing is really, really important. Now, if we look at, we've got a few questions going through the chat. Don't worry, we'll get through to those during Q&A. Now, Lewis, have we got any kind of, we just saw some numbers that are currently live. We got any kind of, like you said, just chatting was the like one of the most popular categories. I think it was from last year. It's probably still is now. What are the kind of like numbers you're coming up with? I mean, you know, feel free to share what you can, you know, hide what you can't. But numbers of people watching like the music category on Twitch. So
we actually don't have that number that we can release. The number I can release at the moment is that we get about 2.5 million Australian and Kiwis tuning into Twitch every month. Globally, that's in the 150 to 200 million kind of area. Ultimately, it's a global platform, so it fluctuates a little bit month on month. But yeah, for us, like depending on what kind of audience you're looking for, you're looking around 2.5 million locally, and then around the globe, 150 to 200 million. That then filters down, like you saw just then, there's probably 12,000 people watching concurrently right now. That'll go up and down depending on the time zone in the US, the UK, across Europe. And also who's on changes that factor as well. There are some people that have built an audience that whenever they go live, they're just going to have 1,000 concurrents kind of come to the platform. Actually, I should also talk about concurrents because it is a metric that does take a bit of time to get your head around. Because it is something that we have noticed that looking at a stream and seeing 1,000 concurrents on a streamer doesn't look as impressive as going into a video on demand video that says it's got 1.1 million views on it. They're very different types of content. And I think this is one of the big things that it does take a bit of time to get your head around because everyone's just got used to the views metric and how, as that as an engagement tool. Whereas if you think about 1,000 concurrents, if a stream is going for 5 or 6 hours and there is constantly an average of 1,000 people sitting on that platform, you're essentially selling out the NMOR over and over and over and over again for 8 hours. And that's kind of when you visualize it like that, you've got 1,000 people live sitting there that you can talk to one-on-one, engage with. And that's why those concurrent views are something that we put forward because that is really powerful. We also look at another metric, which is minutes watched as our major metric. So for us, we use the example of, would you rather have 5 people watching for half an hour or 10 people watching for 10 minutes? You'd rather those 5 people because essentially if you turn around and say, guys, I've got a new song coming out, those 5 people are much more likely to be more engaged, go and download your song, go and listen to your song, go and buy your merch, than those 10 people that are listening for 10 minutes, which are kind of very much on the fence. The job as an entertainer is to try and get those 5 people and turn it into 10 people and have that and continue that engagement and continue that one-on-one aspect.
And so, Achilles, are you working with any musicians over at Global Talent or do you know of any that you've worked with in the past?
Exclusively working with talent within gaming. However, a sister company, is very much in the content space. And I actually feel very lucky about this now is that I'll just be able to facilitate collaboration with musicians. So just like working with people in the music industry to do really cool, fun content, but not representing musicians anymore, exclusively streamers on Twitch and content creators there, but also we represent an extensive top tier list of the best esports players around the globe.
Nice. Now, you've talked a little bit, Lewis, about how some of the ways monetization works, but how does monetization actually work on Twitch and how can one actually get paid on Twitch?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to, I'm thinking if you want to bring up a channel just so we can kind of visually
Which one would
see
you like
some
me
of
to
those.
bring up?
I don't know, let's have a quick look and see who's live. Let's go from the music section just because it makes the most sense. Good. Okay, there's a guy that's playing the accordion. Let's go with him. He's a guy called Moz G888. Should be on. No, he's not. Why is he not turning up on this one? I'll show you. Can I send you a quick link?
Yeah, go for it.
Where
Just
do
drop
I send
it in chat if you like.
Yeah, I'll drop into the chat. Cool. Cool. God. Hello. There he goes. So, let's wait for him to open up. I'm just waiting for his chat to start going off because I know I've seen his chat go off before.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. Share screen. So this is what people see when they go to a streamer. Why is that not coming out? Oh, because Zoom doesn't like it. Just gonna grab this. Moz G88. All right.
And this is kind of weird content, but it's fun, and which is kind of want to show. Like literally anything can get traction on Twitch. If you have an audience, it's the great democracy sort of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. It's always fun to show the weirdest possible thing.
Yes.
There you go. What an absolute specimen. So
this chat literally just popped up when we just went into it. So we can't see the previous chat, just for everyone's bit of context. But yeah, talk us through what we're seeing.
Oh,
Lewis,
no, he's actually gone offline. What
Oh, no.
perfect timing. Okay, anyway, it still does make sense. Like you saw what he was doing. He was playing the accordion. He had about 600 people concurrently, which was the little red symbol that you can see there. And if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see all of these little symbols. And some of those symbols look like little, what are they? Treble clefs. Looks like that. So that's his choice of, hey, if you're a subscriber, you give that, like you basically subscribe to them for either 5, 10 or 25 USD a month, and you become part of the club essentially. So whenever you're talking in this chat, it'll show up that you're a subscriber. It also shows up how long you've been a subscriber for. So it's like people have sub streaks of like over 6 years at this point in time for some guys. And again, it's the same concept of, you can just go to somebody's gig, or you can be a super fan at times where, you know, you wear all the merch, you go to a gig, you know, you've got every single record, you know, all the songs, and you've been to every gig this person goes to. All of the content on Twitch is free. You then pay to help support the people that you want to see making more content. And this is kind of an example here. It's like people, for whatever reason, love what this guy's doing. They want to see him make more content, so they're going to subscribe to him. And that's kind of his monthly membership. That's a pretty solid base to kind of understand how much revenue they're going to be making each month, because they'll start with, when you start on Twitch, it's a 50-50 rev split with those subscribers, with Twitch and yourselves. There's also ad revenue that you make. So well, we didn't see one here, but any pre-rolls or any mid-rolls that they run during their chat, during their stream. So when somebody first comes into the chat, they'll get a pre-roll. They won't see an ad for the rest of the entire broadcast that they're watching, unless the actual creator runs a mid-roll. That way they get to curate the content around, no, I'm going to the toilet, I've been streaming for 4 hours, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, I'm just going to run a bunch of ads. All you're going to see is me, like an empty chair. I'm going to run some ads just to, you know, help out. What it also means is that there's then a positive correlation between people running the ads instead of going, this is just interrupting my content. And then the third piece is we have, as I say, a tipping culture on Twitch, where if he just played a song that somebody had requested that was absolutely mad, then people will kind of go like, that was awesome, here's $10 or here's $20. Like you've seen some insane amounts thrown around at times, but most of the time people will kind of tip $2, $3, $5. And sometimes the actual broadcaster will have incentives to kind of go, I will play a request at $5, I'll play a request at $10.
So Achilles, of the people you're working with, how many people, like rough percentage wise, are actually making a viable income from Twitch? You're probably working with the people who are all making a viable income.
Yeah, there's a lot is essentially the answer to that. When Twitch works, it works, and you know, there's obviously the revenue sharing model with Twitch, and there's the ad revenue share as well, which is, I'll come back to that in a second, because it's very interesting from a label perspective, and also any digital marketers in the room. But really where it can work is that community tipping culture. I've never seen anything like it, where, you know, in the music industry for so long, it was, you know, this whole notion of selling out. Like if you did some sponsorship campaign with some brand, it was like, oh, this artist has sold out. But you know, on Twitch, you know, you'll have a streamer and they'll be like, hey, you know, this is my sponsorship campaign for today. You know, I've got to play this random game for the next 3 hours. I hope you will support me. And chat will just lose their mind and be grateful that their, you know, favorite streamer or streamer they're, you know, part of the club, as Lewis said, that they're benefiting and they're doing well. And you see this genuine relationship of support, which I think is pretty unique for a platform to see that kind of activity. Also, the rev share, the actual advertising on the platform. The beauty about Twitch is that it's actually weaved into the broadcast. So any, like, you know, people like that know the technicalities of browsing on the internet, it's not as easy to just hide ads, especially when a streamer will actually just, you know, obviously advertise within their broadcast. So you're getting a better bang for your buck, so to speak, and it is a worthwhile platform to actually advertise on. So yeah, look, there's talent, not personally representing, but across the board at AZYT that, is successful on the platform, and it certainly does work. Sure.
Lois, do you have any other like stats that you can share with us on like, I don't always like ask anything bad, but like, is there a rough like percentage, or even from the top of your head, who you would know of the actual number of people on Twitch who would be viably making an income from it?
So we actually have a goal of 1 million people making earning money from Twitch by 2021. We're pretty close to that. We can't really share those numbers, but bear in mind as well, it's another entertainment industry. It's another art industry in the same way that not everyone can be the Rolling Stones. Not everyone can be AC/DC. Like the majority of people are earning a nice wage, like a decent wage. That I would say is some expectations to set, but there is it means that there is a possibility that you can get bigger and you can end up in, those 7-figure deals that some of the top guys are earning, not just on Twitch, but around the industry at this point in time.
Definitely. Now I want to get to all the questions because there are so many questions coming through from people. Now I'm going to start with one that a lot of people ask that seems to be a kind of interesting one, especially the kind of industry that we're working in here. Now, a lot of people on Twitch either doing covers or performing music like that. Some people might be using music in their background as a stream. Lewis, tell us, what are the legalities around this, and how do you either like whitelist music or can you not? Tell us.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're a broadcast platform. We're based out of the US, therefore we adhere to the DMCA guidelines. Ultimately, there's a couple of ways that we mitigate people using licensed music. Number one is if the past broadcast that are left of the channel picks up any licensed content, we actually mute 2 minutes either side of that music as well, so that they can't use that VOD or that the video going forward. And people it mutes the whole thing, so there's no incentivization to have that music in there. In terms of the whitelisting side, if you do have the license to that particular piece of music, then what we do is use a third-party system which actually trawls through those VODs to pick up any license, audio tokens, which you can then apply to. It's called Audible Magic. You can then say my channel has the rights to this, therefore, and go through that application process. But ultimately, we adhere to the DMCA guidelines. If somebody who has the license, puts in a report, then we have to take down the channel. We apply a DMCA strike against that channel. And if you do get 3 DMCA strikes against yourself, then your channel is banned at that point in time. So again, it's very much like making sure that we do encourage people to play non-licensed music or music that they do have a license to.
And Achilles, this might be a good question for you. So some people are asking, how does what they do on Twitch translate to what people do outside? Now, obviously, people are thinking about from a music point of view, but you work with a lot of talent who, yes, they have their Twitch streams, but they might be doing other work on the side and using their Twitch stream to sort of amplify their personalities so that then they can get other deals and things. Can you talk through a little bit of this for us, Achilles, and what the talent is doing in this space?
Sure. I mean, I think it's very broad because Lewis has said it correctly. It is another platform that you can utilize to essentially amplify what you're doing. That is the correct way to utilize it. So, just speaking on artists' perspective, on behalf of artists even, it's all about them writing songs, releasing music. That's it. Yes, there are some musicians on the planet Kevin Parker or like a Burial out of the UK or something like that, who, aren't as prolific with their just Instagram stories every day, or, they don't have to jump on Twitch to do hours of content just because they're just brilliant songwriters. But for other artists that we're essentially fighting for space, because there's so much white noise. You look at Spotify and it's what they're receiving 30,000 songs a week, sorry. And it's how do I fight for that attention? How do I gain some interest in what I'm doing? And I think Twitch is just a platform that does help, where you can, you know, almost showcase like a really transparent narrative of other interests, right? Because, you know, as an artist, like you need to showcase that, that your personal interests, like what you're about, because there's so much more than just, you know, just releasing the music. You know, art is about, you know, standing up for things and having a belief and really putting yourself out there. So, I mean, I see it on a kind of practical level, and, you know, being pragmatic about it, you know, from the business of like developing artists, it's just like, it's a very popular platform, and you should go on it to tell a narrative of yourself. And if that narrative is just showcasing your ability to stream, to write music and play music, that's cool. But if you've got something else, like if you're just like an amazing gamer, or you're an amazing chef, or actually you're an artist, so like in designing or something, like it can be utilized really effectively in that way, where some other platforms, you know, Facebook is kind of irrelevant, so to speak, but say, you know, Instagram, where it's quite limited in terms of the space that you get. You know, it's hard to showcase what you're doing through Instagram stories. It's just like a really quick way of engaging. So yeah, it's really hard to generalize and give a straight answer to that, I think. But I just think I would say that it's just an opportunity of showcasing other aspects of what you do. And that could honestly be anything. It could just be like, you know, live streaming you skateboarding. Like that's the other thing about Twitch. Like you don't have to be in a room, right? Like there's plenty of streamers that play like Pokemon Go, like on their mobile, and they'll just be literally walking around the streets and, you know, sometimes interacting with people live on the spot because they're recognized, which is a weird thing in itself. It's almost like Inception. So yeah, I just think it's a platform to amplify other aspects and showcase it in a really transparent way, because doing something on like live stream and trying to pretend to be someone else, it's almost like singing and playing a guitar and like trying to drum at the same time. You can't keep up. And I think just that gives, you know, that real honest approach to content output. Like Lewis said before, it isn't like the best of packages. It's straight up, this is me, this is what I'm about, and these are some other things that I'm into. And if you like all those things, then that's how you convert a fan of like me as a musician to a super fan of me in general, and someone that's really passionate about my brand and my existence.
I think that on that point as well, that's why the culture of tipping and giving and subscribing came about. Is that when you've got somebody that's on television, it's all polished. You hear that they get like another $5 million a year deal, and say, why would I give money to that person? But when you see a person that is very much like, man, I just started this in my bedroom and we seem to get on, I want to see you do more stuff, then that's why there's that whole, you know what, I want to support you, like, and maybe at PAX we'll catch up with each other, or yeah, maybe we won't. And it's just nice to see that somebody who doesn't come from the check, or look how polished everything is world is surviving and actually doing well for themselves.
Yeah, I think so, right? It's the same thing with any kind of thing you're doing, whether it's a performance, whether you're speaking, whether you're giving a presentation, whatever happens to be, it's about being that authentic self. And if you're getting onto a channel and, you know, not being yourself or trying to copy someone else, I just don't think you're ever going to make it. And I think the people who, you know, collect a lot of that, those followings on Twitch are definitely the people who build an authentic self, right?
Very much so.
So we've got some questions on the chat, like, can either of you recommend any good Twitch channels to go and look at for music?
Oh, I mean, do you want to start? Because I will keep going for a long time.
I mean, people are sharing their channel. There's a few people here who got channels,
Awesome.
So please share your channels in the chat. And if you've got any others that you could recommend, or places where people could find good.
Yeah,
my go-to. Oh, you go first, mate, because I've got my
cool.
go-tos.
Yeah, cool. Well, I was actually going to give a shout out to Tim Shield, thinking that he wasn't in here, but then I just saw him basically shout himself out. So well done on that, Tim. I love the plug. So Tim and his like amazing collective of musicians, Spirit Level, I've been enjoying their streams. I think they're doing it well. And obviously Tim's kind of a master of that kind of stuff. So well done, Tim. Kenny Beats, like I'm just going to go to him. I've really enjoyed him streaming. It hasn't been as regular or consistent, but the kind of programs that he's put out, because I've enjoyed watching that process of him just making music that I like, but also he's been engaging with other producers from, you know, the ecosystem. And, you know, people in chat would just like now that you guys are sending questions, people would send him beats and then he would play it on stream and give feedback. And it's just like, that's just the coolest interaction that you can have. And that's how you build and convert fans, or like just static fans, into real, you know, super fans, you know, beyond just listening on a Spotify playlist every now and then. It's like, that's how, you know, you get them to follow you and come to the shows, etc. So yeah, like Tim, well done. Yeah, Kenny Beats has been a really good one, and I'm sure Lewis will have hundreds, so I'll hand it over to him.
Yeah, a few. So my go-tos usually are a couple actually from the classical background. Sorry, that's my Slack going off. So Lara6683 is one of my absolute favorites. She used to work for Opera Australia. I think she had to go over the sheet music before going out to the orchestra. She's incredible. So she has synesthesia and can play any song that she's listened to once. So you can kind of go on and be like, play this, like give me a link and I'll play it. I know this question will come up in terms of how covers work. So on the covers side is that you have to play all of that music. You have to create all of that music yourself. So you can't have a backing track going and then you do a cover and a song over the top, or, you know, you play the guitar riff for it. It has to be that you build up all of the backing track, all of the, you know, the bass, the drums, the beat, everything. That's how a cover works on the platform to be passed as okay. So she will literally just have a piano, play for 2-3 hours, plays a mega medley where it's just like throw some songs into the chat, and she'll just pick up random songs going through and just integrate them into her music, which is incredible. There's another guy called Jonathan Ong, who has I think he's got 50 pianos at home, and he sits there, he does it differently, where he actually builds loops and builds an entire song. And like I've made a couple of requests which are 3-minute songs, and he'll spend an hour on them and build them and loop them, and they're incredible. So again, that's something that you can't do going to the tunnel at Central. Low 99, so his is Low 99 official. He's a producer from Sydney that's I've been working with, trying to get, we've been building up this mega collab thing that he's been doing, where he's literally just been creating EDM tracks on Twitch. And then there's, I'm trying to find his actual channel, but Matt Heafy from Trivium, which is a heavy metal band, is probably our most famous ongoing musician at the moment. And he's been just streaming himself playing guitars, checking out new riffs, like he'll buy a new guitar and be like, look what I got, chat. And at times he'll do giveaways with his chat, he'll do giveaways as a community. But the amount of people that I know have become Trivium fans because of this channel and just getting to chat with him has been insane. There's another guy that, I don't know if I can say his name, but I will. There's another guy that is the lead singer of a band called Closure and Musco in Melbourne. His channel is Wet for Jesus, so it's a little bit off, but he is an incredible entertainer, and he mostly plays games, but I know that he's now found Closure fans through him just playing things like point-and-click adventure games and XCOM, because he's just such a good entertainer and such a good conversationalist.
Just one more to quickly add. I don't know if anyone from the Untitled group is here, but what they achieved last week, I think. Cool. I mean, I don't even know anymore. Like, it's just day infinity of quarantine now. But yeah, what the Untitled group did. Hey Casey, yeah, that was phenomenal. So Obviously, we entered the space at Beyond the Valley just doing something fun, and the crew has really taken it on to a new level, and I think they're really kind of leading the charge with live performances, because that was nuts.
Awesome. Now, there's something I picked up, like as people are putting all their Twitch details in the channel, there's this thing on Twitch called teams and community. Maybe Lewis, would you like to talk about that? Because I think that might be something that a lot of the people here could probably either get involved in and maybe create their own or make one themselves, and also might be a good way for them to promote themselves. So can you talk through that for us?
Are we talking as in like team pages, and you can add yourself and say that I am a team, like I'm in team?
So stream team communities.
Yeah, cool.
Teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is essentially a flying your flag for a smaller community within Twitch. So probably a couple of prevalent ones are, the Twitch ANZ. There's just a Twitch ANZ community where when you're streaming, it'll say what category you're in. So that used to be like, what game are you playing? But now it's like, I'm in music and arts. And then next to it, not everyone, but some people will be in a stream team. And that is like essentially a group of people that have said, I'm part of this stream team. And if you click on that link, it'll show you all of the other people that are in that team. It'll go to a unique URL, which means like if you wanted to make, Team Beans or whatever it is, you could have 3 or 4 of your friends that are in that team. What that actually helps with is, and I saw a question before about raids, what that helps with is understanding and knowing who to raid. And a raid is, let's start from the beginning, a raid is actually one of my favorite features on Twitch, where when you are live, Twitch is not a platform where you turn around and go, okay guys, I'm going offline now, see you later, speak to you on Tuesday when I'll be live again. Twitch is very much a communal hub where, the whole rising tide, not sinks all ships, raises all ships. It's very much you go, who do we like? Who do we want to go check out? Who do we want to go support? So when you finish your broadcast, you have a look around Twitch and go, who's live? And then you send your community over there, usually with a message saying like, hey, I want you to say Frank and Beans when we get there, because everyone knows that's an in-joke for me. And then what will happen is you'll go to the other channel, and especially if it's a smaller person, they'll be like, oh my God, there's so many people in here. Thank you so much for the follows. Thank you so much. And then if it's like Mish, for example, like Mish, thank you so much. Really nice to see you. Then they'll get their community to turn around and go like, go check out Mish. She's awesome. So that you've got a lot of cohesion going on, and both channels can then lift. The stream team just allows you to find people easier, because like if I see that there are people in my stream team, I'm more likely to raid them and support them at the end of a stream, rather than just kind of searching through Twitch and going, well, who do I go for? I don't know any of these people.
Pretty much, I nearly always exclusively use the stream team function when I go to raid people. But like, it's one of my favorite features as well. It's just a great way to build up a community. Now, I've had a couple of questions on how do you build yourself up on Twitch, and one of the questions is, is the homepage curated, and what kind of opportunities there? This might be a good opportunity for you to talk about the creator program.
Absolutely. So in terms of how do you build yourself an audience, it's the same concept of how do you build yourself an audience on anything. It's you have to engage, you have to interact. How do you build a Twitter following? How do you build more Facebook fans? Utilizing your skills to kind of put yourself out there and get opportunities to bring people back to your social channels. Your Twitch channel is essentially another social channel. Opportunities that we're doing on the platform itself. I am a massive believer in the music industry, and that Twitch can be a really good home for musicians, and also creative aspects, like not just music, but the arts in general. So we have put together, and we actually released it a week and a half ago at this point in time, the creative program, where essentially you apply to be part of this program. You get 2 weeks on the front page of Twitch, like the ANZ front page. And when you go to Twitch, you'll see a carousel with 5 or 6 pieces of content on there that you can kind of sift through. That is the only real editorial part we have to do with the platform. Everything else is algorithmic or just straight up, hey, you have the highest numbers. But that is something where we can start showcasing people, and people come to understand it's like, okay, Twitch is the one controlling that. I will check out people that they're putting forward. So with the creative showcase, they get 2 weeks on that front page, and as part of that carousel. And they'll get a couple of shout outs through our social platforms as well. So it's kind of just a step up for people that's like, we saw that they've got talent, they just need that extra leverage, we're going to push them forward. Then in terms of that, it's just, I would say getting involved with communities, the best music, like I'll use music because that's kind of been the longest lasting growing part of the creative and arts section, where you get involved with other musicians, you raid, you go and chat to them, like go and say hi to other musicians on Twitch. It's amazing that when you actually start getting to know people, how much they're willing to help you out. And obviously it has to be natural and organic, but at the same time, it's like, if you are genuinely really enjoying somebody's music, go and tell them, go and talk to them, go and say like, how did you get started? Because people will be very helpful. And then once you're like getting involved more in those communities, go to, we have NZ community nights, and they're in every major city across Australia. Go and talk to other streamers. Like, just because they play games doesn't mean that they don't have the same sort of challenges that you would face. Just get involved as much as we possibly can.
And we've got some people in the chat as well who got selected for that creative. So congratulations to them. It's going to be a great ride. Now, we're coming up to the end, but I want to ask a few more questions just to beef about your both experiences on Twitch. Now, I know both of you obviously watch Twitch. Do either of you do Twitch? Do you live stream yourself? Lewis or Healers? Healers is covering his head.
No one wants to see this. It is just be so boring. My gosh. No.
Very rare. I used to a lot, but very rarely. But like, it essentially now. So I'll actually preface this with once you get to a certain level, the reason that I work in the partnerships team isn't because I work B2B like most companies. It's that our top tier creators are called partners. So I look after most of the partners in Australia and New Zealand. But I'd say my streams are now mostly, I spend a lot of my time going and lightly trolling my partners. Look, I have a good relationship with them. So whenever I stream now, all it is just 50 partners coming to get their own back and just to give me shit, essentially. So yes, I do. But if you just want to go and watch people kind of lightly send meme photos of me and things like that, you're more than welcome to join. Most of them will be like, what the hell is this? So.
All right, there's the answer there. And do either of you know if there's any Twitch creator meetups happening online during coronavirus times?
I need to double check that one, actually. I know there was talk of it at some stage. I haven't seen if they're definitely going ahead at this point in time.
Yep.
But we do also have an official community hub as well. So I would recommend, like, if you just search Twitch community or Twitch community meetups on Google, you'll find the hub where it's just like, hey, you can, which is your local community meetup. And as I say, they're in every city in Australia.
Awesome. Now we're pretty much right at the end. We've got 1 minute left. So do either of you have any final thoughts, comments, words of wisdom for anyone out there wanting to get onto the platform or already on it and doing all right?
You go for it, man.
Honestly, I think I look at this holistically, and I think just like the rise of gaming culture and the platforms around gaming, obviously Twitch like starting off there, but growing. I think it's just like such an exciting space for artists to be able to connect with this new cultural or digital culture, so to speak. And yeah, I definitely encourage any artist developers in the room from a record side or even just a management side to see how you can amplify what you're doing through Twitch. And it's proven to be successful. I think it is genuinely worth the investment. And then when it becomes, I think, even more universal for a lot of people, you'll be ahead. It's kind of the thing of like people that took advantage of Facebook really early on and were able to kind of capitalize on being able to speak to the whole fan base without necessarily advertising it to them. So it's just one of those cases where it's almost like view it as almost terrible to say, but almost view it as real estate. Get in early, start building those fan bases, and see where that leads.
Amazing. Great words of advice. So I want to thank you both for being here today and giving up some of your time and knowledge and expertise to help all these wonderful content creators get awesome and creative on Twitch. I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of their channels go live, and hopefully some of you will apply for the creator program when it comes out. Again, Lewis, how often are those creator programs happening?
So the next group, so we actually have 10, so we're done for pretty much half the year at this point in time. But that's not to say there won't be other programs kind of coming up and other ways that we can try and introduce things. But I keep an eye out for kind of the second half of this year. Other than that, make sure you just go into the music tab. If you're wanting to look at the music side, look at the IRL tab. If you want to just see some guy fishing off the pier in Perth that has people watch for 9 hours at a time, there's so much interesting content. And once you understand the kind of initial tools like the subscriptions and how the chat works, you have a great time. I reckon there's content out there for literally everyone as long as they can find it.
I think so too. So again, thank you again so much for being here and giving up your expertise to help everyone. Thanks again, Katie, so much for having all three of us here this morning. And we hope you've got a lot of information out of this. I know Katie's been recording it, so I'm sure she'll send that around to you all. And again, thank you everyone for giving up a morning to be here and be with us.